Hear me okay? Sentite bene? Okay. I think we're waiting for the David, the photographer, again. Where are you, Dave? Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for making today even bigger than it already is. I haven't done a speech as such, it's all going to come off at Chiravella. I'm going to leave the nice speeches, etc., etc., to the best men, because I think everyone always excited about the best men speeches. And we have beautiful Alyssa who's going to say a few words, and obviously Jimmy as well. But first, I want to congratulate myself. Because somehow I managed to get the most beautiful girl, who's now my wife. And to be honest, there's no words to describe what I feel for Rachel, and you've made me so happy today, and I cannot wait to spend the rest of my life with you. Okay.
Don't cry.
Rachel's mum. Thank you so much for bringing Rachel to us 32 years ago. I'd like to thank you and all the family, the Morrises, Angelos, for welcoming me into your world. It's been incredible, and I'm blessed to have been able to be a part of it, and thank you. And Mum and Dad, Mama and Papa, thank you. I suppose you've done an okay job of me. And I think I'm going to leave it here and pass on to Jimmy. Just before I go though, I'd like to make a toast to my wife, Rachel. To Rachel, everyone.
Come on, G.
Over to you, Jen.
We don't want the brick anymore.
I have prepared a speech, and it's all written down here. It's not in Italian, but I'd like to start by saying what an honour it is to be speaking in front of such a splendidly well turned out audience on as momentous an occasion as this. The sun is shining, the bridesmaids are beautiful, and it's wonderful to be in Italy, the homeland of Gianni's family. Some of us have travelled continents to be here today, so a big thank you goes out to all of the guests here in attendance. This in itself lays testament to the love and support which you both already enjoy. In composing this speech, I've thought long and hard, which was an altogether painful process. In fact, thinking long and hard is not something that I generally recommend, especially to anybody who in their mid-30s has only just recently graduated from the cradle of full-time education and got himself a proper haircut. Nevertheless, long and hard I thought, and my greatest dilemma has been in how the delivery of this brother of the bride speech may or may not affect the tone of this very special event from this point on. So I've come to the conclusion that it is an older brother's duty, albeit his privilege, to completely and utterly embarrass his little sister any given opportunity, and most especially on her wedding day. I'm going to tell you all a story which some of you do already know, but it does appropriately illustrate just how wonderful and charming a person Rachel is and always has been. There may be some artistic license employed in the telling of this story, but it's my speech, so I don't care. I'm going to take you all back to the 25th of December, 1989, number 1 Summerland, Ramsey are the man, yes sir. It's Christmas Day and Rachel and I are chomping at the bit to open our prezzies, but we have to wait for Nana and Papa to get out of bed and Mum to finish the breakfast. So we're going mental. Come on, it's Christmas! You get the picture. Eventually the living room door opens and we both dive into a pile under the tree. I obviously get there first, and my first present is from Auntie Jude. Hey! Is she hiding? On the right. Where am I? I rip apart the wrapping paper to discover a box of assorted pens and pencils. And I'm like, great! What am I supposed to do with that? Next! Here's one from Dad. Now this has got to be good. So I tear it apart and open it up to find a wallet. And I'm like, but Dad, I haven't even got any money. To which he triumphantly replies, exactly, my boy. 27 years on and I still haven't got any money. So much for tough love. But at least I look good without a shirt on my back. Anyway, all right. After registering my disappointment, all eyes turn to Rach, who's still opening her first present. And I remember it being the most frustrating thing in the world, watching her clumsily tear apart the wrapping paper, thinking, just let me do it. Anyway, this present is also from Jude. And eventually she opens up the gift to reveal a box of assorted pens and pencils. Just what I've always wanted! Everybody in the room is bowled over by Rachel's adorable reaction, and they respond with a rapturous applause, and Rachel's delighted. Cue next present, and all eyes are fixed on Rach in anticipation of the next display of unremitting glee. And this one's from her big brother Gianni. She doesn't take so long to open this one, because she learns fast. But eventually she opens it up to reveal a Mars bar. A boxing Mars bar.
Is that a good thing?
We all know how you made your millions, don't we, Johnny? Just what I've always wanted! Right on cue, Rachel thrills her audience with her natural enthusiasm, and everybody in the room is elated. Rachel, nothing's changed. You're adorable as ever. Your best little sister. A brother can ask for. Sorry. I really meant that, didn't I?
You did.
I'd have to take this opportunity to make a very brief mention in respect of our absent companions. Amongst them all, the father of the bride could not be here today. It's a tragic consequence of pride and principles, but I like to think he was just unable to give his beloved Rachy baby away to any man, even Gianni. Because he loves his one and only daughter too dearly, he just couldn't do it. I, on the other hand, cannot wait to be rid of her, so all the best. I'll see you at the bar. And that's my speech from Dalton.
Yay!
Only joking. I have another 17 embarrassing stories to get through, but I'd like to make it very clear that Gianni absolutely did receive my father's blessings for this union, just in case anybody had wondered any different. I was first introduced to Gianni 3 years before Rach had ever met him by a mutual friend and living legend, Sarah Pazar. So when my father and I were discussing Gianni's imminent proposal in a coffee shop called Noah's, I felt it appropriate to call Sarah over and introduce her to my dad because she was just working behind the counter. Naturally, my father wanted to know a bit more about this Fabrizio fella. And Sarah gave this wonderful analogy of Gianni being this big, tough dog-wielding, takes on 10 men, police brutality superhero who comes home after work and just wants to curl up in front of the telly with a mug of warm cocoa dressed in a onesie. And from my visits to Onken, I can confirm that she was absolutely spot on. How is Santa's little helper doing? He's alright. My brother of the bride's speech would be complete without mentioning the mother of the bride. So there you are. So stand up, mother, just so everybody knows who you are. No? You know she's wearing a hat. Catherine Elizabeth Angelos Nicole. She's been my mother ever since I was born.
Hallelujah. Have some more Prosecco.
But in reality, she's been much, much more than that. She dragged up Simon, Giles and Johnny. Before giving birth to myself and then Rach during her first marriage, and helped raise Marie, Vivian and Cynthia before delivering the delightful Kim in her second marriage to Jean-Francois. Not to mention her surrogate son, Ibu Diouf. That makes 10 of us. Is there anyone else in the vicinity who can lay claim to 10 children? On that note, it's probably a good thing that Ibu isn't here, because he took quite a shining to my little sister. But don't worry, he's got nothing on you, mate. Catherine, Katie, Kathy, Mum. You've earned the right to be proud, but that would go against your better nature. Entirely selfless, loyal and accommodating in every way. You're the hub of this family, and we all love you very, very much.
We love you.
Another quick mention to Auntie Jude. She's moved. Or Juju, who, like my mother, is unconditional with her generosity. Being a grandmother really suits you. And even after all these years, I'm still fairly sure that it wasn't you who bought us the box of assorted pens and pencils for Christmas. Richard and Kate, our cousins, who introduced our grandfather to great-grandfatherhood. How proud would Nana and Papa be right now?
Yeah.
I'd also like to give a special mention to Karen and Giles, who between them have managed to create one of the most remarkable family units in the Isle of Man. I'm very happy to see the strong bonds that have been forged between your lot and Rachel. I think it's crucial for Rachel Gianni's continuing relationship that my little sister has some Morrises around her and does not become overwhelmed by the very immediate presence of the Onken Fabrizios, special and loving though they clearly are. Indeed, there are 3 things that I've come to know of the Fabrizios. They love their food, they take exceptional care over their appearances, and in their spare time they like going out and shooting things.
Be careful.
Benvenuti alla famiglia napolitana, Rachel. I was going to pay a tribute to the Roy Orbison classic, Only Cannoli. But thought it a little inappropriate with this being a wedding and all. Ladies and gentlemen, ragazzi e ragazze, mesdames et messieurs, et mi carino, please join me in a toast, a standing toast, to the bride and groom.
Yeah. Okay.
All together now. Rach, you're a keeper, and will undoubtedly make a devoted wife. Gianni, you're a diamond, and I wish you all the best of luck in your new role as a faithful husband. A toast to the bride and groom, for we all truly hope that you have now both received and will continue to receive Just what you've always wanted. Next. Who's next? No one's claiming the microphone.
Stop looking at your nails.
Hello? Hi. Hello all. Can I just say, holy moly! Congratulations, Rachel G. You both look truly beautiful. Salve tutti. Io provole di parle italiano. Posso solo dire Santo Cielo! Congratulazioni Rachel and Gianni. Entrambi siete veramente belli. Some of you know me, and for those who don't, let me just put I am Rachel's cousin. I'm actually her niece. What's crazy is, apart from the majority of people in this room, is she is my auntie and she is my best friend. They say that you can't choose your... They say that you can't choose your family.
So I'm crying too, Lisso.
But I would choose my family. I'd choose Rachel as my auntie. Stop looking at it. And as my best friend over and over again. Alcuni di voi mi conosco, per quelli che non mi conosco, io sono la nipote di Rachel. La cosa folle è che lei è una delle mie migliori amiche e alla mia famiglia. Diciamo che non si può scegliere Rachel come zia e come migliori amica più e più volte. Rachel and I are so close because we have the same way of thinking. So, I'm doing the fish story, I'm going there. So, at Sangeeta and Uncle Johnny's wedding, they married in Thailand, and we stayed at this beautiful, beautiful hotel. And Rachel and I were sharing a room. And en route to drop our suitcases off, we walked up these really grand stairs, and on what decorated the stair was this really big pillar. And on top of the pillar, there was this big bowl of gorgeous, colourful, exotic, tiny little fish. So I was like, Rachel! Oh my goodness! And at the same time, she said, Alyssa! And I said, no. I said, you need to come and have a look at what I've discovered, because it's amazing. And she was like, no! You need to look at what I've discovered. Anyway, this went on for about 2 minutes. And I think there was a little Thai guy holding our suitcases, watching this. And then when I finally looked at Rachel, there was an identical pillar either side with the same bowl of fishes. But in all seriousness, Rachel is a gorgeous ray of sunshine, spreading light and happiness wherever she goes. And I'm lucky to have such a guardian angel by my side. She's not just my guardian angel, she's been Henry's too. And I know others. She has that much love to share. Speaking of sharing, there is no one I would rather share Rach with, and now proudly call my uncle Zio Gianni and Gianni. You wonderful human being, supporting and loving our Rachel. Non c'è nessuno altro con cui vorrei condividere la mia Rachel e ora posso con orgoglio chiamare mio zio Gianni. Tu sei un essere uomo meraviglioso perché ami la nostra Rachel alla Sapotti. Vi completate la uno l'altra. E così belli verti insieme. E non mi sto rivedendo. l'altro copie d'un bamboli di Ken a Barbie in palestra. Yeah, you got it! Anche se vi completete anche in questo senso. Sto parlando di come superate ogni ostacolo insieme, qualunque sia la sue dimensioni. Whenever Rachel tells me about how she met G, her little face lights up. So she was back for a weekend after living in London, and she actually first saw him on the high street, and she said to Steph, wow, who's that? And he also saw her and thought, oh God, because he wasn't looking for anything and he thought she was beautiful. Anyway, they met later that evening at a little mini festival where Gianni was playing the guitar and singing, and Rachel was like perving on him so hard. Anyway, when she finally got the courage to go over to talk to him, she talked to Stroud more than G, and Gianni thought that Rach liked Stroud rather than him. But she said when she met him, she said she knew that was it. The law of attraction is all about vibration. Everything is vibrational. Your thoughts, your ideas, every being. You draw to you whatever vibration matches yours, wanted or unwanted. You two match and complement one another. It's so beautiful to see. And I'm not even referring to the total Barbie and Ken couple, which you totally are. But you overcome each obstacle together, no matter the size. The Morris family are bonkers, and I won't divulge into any detail, but I know G has been Rachel's rock throughout everything, and in return, Rachel has been his rock, and they have both been mine when I've needed them, so thank you, A-Team. Gianni is so caring and calm, yet he fits into our family seamlessly, and after doing with his incredible mother, I can see why. We love him so much. When Rach first introduced Gianni to us, we were all in London on a massive night out, which got a little bit out of hand. I ended up having a fight with Louis and I hit him in the face. And then I cried on G while Emily and Rachel danced around the streets and got shoeless at one point. We lost Jim, and then I locked the boys out of the apartment, and he still stayed with Rachel. Rachel and G bring out the best in one another, and when you look at them, you know they've got it that is so desired. Rachel e Gianni terranno fuori il meglio l'uno dall'altro a quando legati, se che ciascuno di loro ha trovato gioie che desiderati. L'amore non fa girare il mondo. L'amore è ciò per cui vale la pena che il mondo giri. Love does not make the world go round. Love is what makes the ride worthwhile. Vi prego di alzare il calice e di brindare con alla signore e signore Fabrizio. Please stand and raise a glass for me for Mr. and Mrs. Fabrizio. Salute. Cheers.
It's that time.
Marco. Marco.
I'm so sorry. We're gonna fuck shit up. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Conrad, for those who don't know me, and I'm very lucky to be one of the best men here today. And what a wonderful day it's been so far. Has everybody enjoyed themselves?
Yeah.
Danny's not so lucky though, is he?
We appreciate we've got some more food to come, and we'll get to that very shortly. I want to start by saying how shocked I am, as I'm sure all you are, that Gianni actually made the wedding on time. Give a round of applause. As most of you know, Gianni is notoriously late for everything, which makes it all the more ironic, because ever since he met Rachel, he's been coming far too early. Honestly, legend has it that that Angie was pregnant with Gianni for 12 months. He was that late. Poor Angie spent a full year trying to squeeze that head out. However, no matter how late Gianni is, he's not as late as his brother Julio has been coming out of the closet. And on that note, I'll pass you to Paul.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I've got a bit of a script here, so bear with me. Now, ladies and gents, we'd like to take you on a journey through the early years of Gianni Fabrizio. A journey that has shaped him into the honest... Oh, sorry. The honest and upstanding member of society we know him to be. Some would say this is a voyage of discovery, a Fabrizio odyssey. Think Gulliver's Travels, but with bigger eyebrows, a bald head, and an absolutely huge set of guns. And a lot less little people. Sorry, Gilo, you're not on this story, mate. Now let's begin our early teens when Gianni revealed his high ethical reasoning and strong moral compass. It was a typical night in the Fabrizio household. A game of the Commodore 64, whilst listening to the rock legends that are rock set, followed by an 18-course meal and our pick of desserts from the mouldy fruit bowl. It was upon this night Gianni and I made the discovery of Peter's prized Manx money collection. A collection of true value. A treasure trove. Hey, it's anything goes, mate. You might ask, what did Gianni do with this find? Well, overawed by an unparalleled sense of generosity, he did the only thing that he thought he could. He collected the coins and made the long and arduous trek to the promenade and donated the entire hoard to his favourite charitable cause, the Crescent Leisure Centre. Pete, did you know about that? Oh, brilliant. No, that is charity at its best, come on. Alright. Now, I'm sure you'll agree that today is certainly one of Gianni's greatest moments. However, I'm sure that those who have known Gianni as long as I have will know that really his greatest moment was the day he walked into Phil's kitchen. Phil sat over there. He walked into Phil's kitchen, saw a basket of white eggs, and asked that immortal question. Were those eggs laid by a goat? That is actually a true story. A 16-year-old Gianni Fabrizio thought he could go into a restaurant and order a goat egg omelette. That's me done. Over to Mark.
And just when you thought you couldn't get any dumber. I first met Gianni in September 1998 when I joined Ocean Forward as a car salesman. Initially, he thought all salesmen were cocky, and in particular the new guy with his boyish good looks, and that they looked down their noses at the vehicle technicians. I'd like to say that that's simply not the case. I found the grease monkeys that worked in the basement quite endearing. Anyway, that was nearly 18 years ago, and I've learned that in that time how special Gianni is. He was popular with all his colleagues and peers. However, there were moments when I suspected that there was something not quite right with this little fella. And on one occasion, I walked down to the where the grease monkeys work, vehicle technicians, and saw Gianni under a ramp trying to fit a rear beam axle under a red Ford Escort estate. He was doing it by hand, and he was straining like a constipated cocker spaniel, desperately trying to bolt an axle on with one hand whilst holding it up with his other. And I'd like you to imagine that at this time he was still bench pressing 150 kilos at the time. He spotted me out of the corner of his eye and somehow managed to let out a little whimper, summoning me for assistance. He was in trouble, his arms were shaking and beads of sweat were running down his forehead. I ran over quickly and manoeuvred a hydraulic transmission stand that was literally 2 foot away from him at the side of the ramp and put it under the axle, instantly resolving the dilemma. Curiosity got the better of me, and I asked him why he didn't utilise the stand and in his direct line of vision, and he replied, I didn't see it there. In the autumn of 1999, Gianni and I decided that it would be a good idea if we should embark on a career in law enforcement. We both applied for the Isle of Man Constabulary at the same time in the hope that we'd be on the same intake and mental resilience. Unfortunately, Gianni didn't make the cut on that occasion and was asked to go back to school in order to learn reading and writing. However, he must have made an impression though, because despite not making the grade, they allowed him to resit the English test a few months later and he got in. Although I think the chief constable at the time, who had questionable sexual orientation, had seen G have his medical and insisted the handsome boy that looks like a gypsy should definitely get a uniform and a pair of handcuffs and report to his office on the 6th of September 2000. At that time, G had realised his dream and could throw off the shame of being a grease monkey. He could now be a pillar in the community, and the public could look up to him, providing that they were below the height of 5'4". In the early years, G served as a beat officer, and during that time he was described by his supervisors as deceptively slow. On one occasion, G went to a violent bar fight in Douglas, where he had to deploy his pepper spray on a suspect who was being most unruly. Now, one of the police tactics, if you're grappling with someone and are struggling to restrain an assailant, you spray the pepper spray into the palm of your hand and then you rub it into the person's face in order to incapacitate them. All in all, it was quite an effective tactic. If any you are unfamiliar with what pepper spray is, it's a skin irritant that temporarily blinds you if it goes into your eyes and is extremely painful if it goes on your skin. In particular, if that skin happens to have a lot of nerve endings. At this point, I'd like to remind you that coincidentally, the end of the average human penis has 20,000 nerve endings. Although there is a rumour that G's isn't average. I'll just let that sink in, and I think you might know where this is going. Anyway, G booked his prisoner into custody and went on to relieve himself in the toilets, which was followed by yelps of pain. Very quickly, G's sergeant knocked on the door asking if he was okay, as she was very concerned for him. G stated that little G was causing him some issues as he had covered him in pepper spray when he had held him to urinate. As quick as a flash, Sergeant Bradley informed Gianni that he could make a complaint of indirect assault on little G and that he was to report to the Scenes of Crimes office in the morning to have his injuries photographed. I had heard that the Scenes of Crime officer's laughter could be heard throughout Douglas Police Headquarters when G turned up and asked to have little G photographed because it was all red and swollen after he'd been wrestling with a man he'd never met before on the previous night. As many of you know, G loves good practical jokes, and him being the lad he is, i.e. gullible, he had many practical jokes played on him. One night, whilst working at Ramsey Police Station, Gianni decided it was time for payback. He'd heard of a prank called rimming the teacup. After a particularly testing set of days and evening shifts, he decided to get his own back on his unsuspecting work colleague who had asked him to make him a cup of tea. G stepped up with a wry smile on his face and duly made his way to the kitchen to make good his plan. Unfortunately for G, he went into autopilot mode and started the process of brewing up. He boiled the kettle and poured the boiling hot water into the cup. At this point, he remembered his dastardly plan and thought he would save time and just rim the cup whilst it was still full of boiling hot tea. Well, you may have heard the rumour that little G is not so little at all, and whilst trying to manoeuvre him around the rim of the cup, little G fell in and instantly gave himself first-degree burns. Like I said, not the sharpest tool in the box. The rumour is that laughter could be heard throughout the whole of Douglas Police Headquarters when G submitted his accident at work form to the Human Resources Department. And FY, if G offers you a brew and makes it in a different room but walks out back, pulling his pants away from his crotch, reject it and brew up yourself. In 2004, Gianni decided that he'd apply to be a dog handler, and it was at this point he achieved his ambition of working with dogs. Although, when he was going through the application process, he was told that he would have to milk the dogs to relieve sexual frustration. This was in order to keep the dogs more focused. All the dog handlers kept the job going for many weeks, even going to the extent of issuing Gianni with a milking mitt. He was absolutely convinced he had to do this unpleasant task, and rumour has it that he practiced the procedure on Casey Roberts' dog. Don't worry, the dog has since been rehoused and his recovery is going well. There are many stories that I could tell you about, but apparently I'm only allowed 3 minutes, and I think G's mum wants me to leave, so I'll just leave you with a few anecdotal bullet points to give you an impression of how special G is. On one occasion, after a good day of training with the explosive detection dogs, he was once reprimanded by the dog unit sergeant for collecting in explosives while smoking. True story. Whilst going over to England to collect explosives from Newcastle with the sergeant from the dog unit, G wanted to collect a jet ski engine on the way. Unfortunately, the jet ski engine was in Sheffield, and G thought Sheffield is the village next to Heysham, where the boat docks, until Sergeant Kelly informed him that it was a big city over 104 miles away, adding 3 hours to their round trip. On one occasion, during a training session, G, with police dog Saxon, G suffered a terrible accident where Saxon accidentally bit little G. Gianni went home nursing his wounded member, but couldn't sleep through the night and ended up at A&E at 3 a.m. in the morning. And in that particular set of circumstances, he had to have little G drained of any excess fluid. Needless to say, Sergeant Kelly had to implement a new policy of cricket boxes to be worn whilst training with general purpose dogs. At this point, I would just like to thank Rachel for taking up the mantle of G's full-time carer, and have been asked to remind you by Peter and Angie that the contract that you agreed upon today is binding, and Gianni is officially your problem from here on in. I'd just like to hand over to Con to finish off. Thank you.
Hello again. Well, I've also known Gianni for a very long time. We've gone through a lot together. School, the police, the business, that went well. Musically, a number of bands, and the time we spent living together. Gianni has always been the responsible one, the big brother, the oldest cousin. So some years ago, when Gianni's cousins Dario and Daniela were a bit younger, Gianni and I were tasked with looking after them one night so Marco and Colette could go out. We arrived in his freshly polished white Astra GSI around 7 p.m. Gianni took this vote of confidence very seriously, but despite my best efforts to stop him, Gianni sank nearly a full bottle of Jack Daniels over the course of the evening. Needless to say, Gianni was very, very drunk and so embarrassed that we made a sharp exit when Mark and Colette came home. However, the freshly washed and polished Astra GSI did suffer. Throughout the duration of me driving it home, Gianni spent the entire time giving it a respray down one side. It meant that when we got home, he expressly asked me for me to strip him naked and put him in a cold shower. Do you remember that, mate? We were never asked to babysit again. Now, it would be wrong of me to talk about the stag do in any detail, obviously. But suffice to say, we had a great time in Marbs, and thanks to the guys that came along. I mean, it would be wrong of me to talk about the gay bar, the lap dancing, missing persons, missing underwear, and the copious amounts of drink and drugs consumed, so I'll keep that to myself. Well, we've come to an end, but may I say, it's really great to see so many people here from all around the world. There's people here from here in Italy, from France, Canada, the UK, and of course the Isle of Man. It's crazy how far some people have come for a free meal. And now it's time to enjoy the rest of yours. We just want to leave you one final thing. Marriage is not about finding a person you can live with, it's about finding the person you can't live without. Our friend Gianni has found that person in Rachel. I take a toast. If we can have one more toast to Gianni and Rachel, please. Mr. and Mrs. Fabrizio.
Yay! Yay!
Salute.
Yay!
I think that's us. Let's eat.